So let's go over some of the basic specs for the Princeton Tec Torrent 500. As you might assume with the name Torrent 500, it's 500 lumens, and it powers a single LED that produces the power for the light, or the light for the light. The overall housing is a hard plastic. I've hadn't had any issues with that, and the part that you're not grabbing with your hand that surrounds the front of the light is a harder rubber. I'm not sure exactly the material, but it's very robust, and as you're sticking your light through into holes for lobster and whatnot, it does seem to hold up pretty well there. The trigger mechanism is a switch left to right, so similar to some sort of toggle. There is a lockout feature, and that lockout feature only exists when the light is off to prevent any sort of accidental bump that can turn on the light. That lockout feature does not exist to keep the light on, so just to prevent any sort of accidental turning on of the light. The light is rated to go up to 100 meters, so it's pretty deep, especially if you're lobster diving or spearfishing. I feel like for the most part, for most of us, it shouldn't be an issue at all. So let's dive into the ownership experience. So for my personal ownership experience with the Princeton Tec Torrent 500 has been over the past 3 seasons now. 3 seasons starting with the lobster season. So overall, it's been really great. I would say in terms of usage, so this takes AA batteries. It takes 8 AA batteries, so a good number. So it uses a tray sort of housing for internals, and then you'll notice that the trigger mechanism pushes a little on-off switch there. A very satisfying sound, and it powers an LED. But from my experience, this light has been great. For a lot of folks that are shopping online, you might think the Torrent 500 is actually underpowered from those higher powered and highly advertised dive lights that go 800,000 plus lumens, but I can tell you from experience that that doesn't necessarily result in a better visibility under the water. Many times, similar if you're familiar with driving a car, and turning on your high beams in the fog, it's actually not recommended because the light refracts back at you, especially when it's a little muggier conditions. So in that same aspect, you don't want that. And most of the time, especially where many of us shore divers go, the lobsters are a little more skittish, so having a stronger light doesn't necessarily give you that edge. So I find the 500 is a good amount of light. It's very usable, it's dependable, and it doesn't suck the life out of the batteries so fast. And with that being said, I do think that from my experience, the batteries, when you have a full charge and you're diving maybe maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours per dive, I found every maybe 3 or 4 sessions, I'll swap out the batteries for fresh ones. So I do notice that the light gets a little dimmer, and this has never gone out on me. It's pretty obvious when it starts to die, and at that point you should have enough time to get back to shore safely and swap out the batteries for your next session. So overall, really good experience with the Princeton Tec. The only, I guess, one of the downsides of this is that from my personal experience, I actually had some water leak from the trigger mechanism. So where the toggle is, as swings left to right, I noticed after a dive that I saw a little bit of condensation inside of the light. And I had replaced the batteries maybe 2 or 3 dives prior, so I knew it wasn't probably from me opening up and letting water in and not sealing it properly. So after some further investigation, I noticed that there was a lot of corrosion right next to the trigger. So I knew the evidence implied that it was most likely from that trigger mechanism. I contacted Princeton Tec. They're actually based in South Jersey, and they said send it over. I paid for shipping and handling. I sent it over, and they were pretty responsive. They had let me know that this was covered under warranty, and just for those of you that are curious, this does come with a lifetime warranty. Obviously, you banging it or dropping it is not going to be covered, but if it's a failure of the light itself, then they'll cover it. So they sent me over a new one. This is a brand new one I have yet to use, but the one in the past that I had used took quite a beating. I didn't drop it very much in terms of like hard drops. The light performed well, and I still consider this a very dependable light. I think maybe going a little bit stronger could work, but I think 500 lumens is great. So from that experience, that whole return policy, that whole return experience was over the span of about 2.5 weeks. So it's a good amount of time to be without a light. So I would say having a backup light is good. Some divers say they prefer having 2 lights, so consider that. But again, I've had over maybe at least 150 dives at least with one of these lights, and I hadn't had an issue up until recent. And after every dive, I rinse it off with fresh water. So I think it's very dependable. Overall, the experience is good with Princeton Tec as a company. I am not paid by them. I paid for everything here. So let that be disclosed. And yeah, so if you're looking for a dive light, the Princeton Tec Torrent 500 is a good size. I have bigger hands, so it fits for me really nicely. It does not come with this little wrist strap here, but if you want to get your own, it does come with a standard one, but I've fitted this one with a kind of quick release. So if I'm in tricky situations and I need to pull out for whatever reason, I just pull on it hard as it's stuck, and it'll pop off. But outside of that, it's been a great light. Again, lumens do not mean better visibility in the water, so keep that in mind, do your research. I'll leave some clips over here. I actually compare this light or a similar light to this, a Princeton Tec, to a kind of aftermarket or another brand's very strong 1,000+ lumen light, and you can definitely see not only is it not focused, but it's almost useless in the water. So I hope you found this review helpful. Princeton Tec Torrent 500, I believe they go for around $70 as of this video, but a really great investment. And yeah, you can't go wrong. Be safe in the water, dive safe, and I'll see you on the next one.